Welcome to the room. It's kind of a mess right now, and we're all kind of a mess right now.
Not much good. I guess we're getting deported in 2 weeks.
You could risk ban from Europe for what? You would never be able to come back.
They would not ban us.
It is true. Previous night, Adam, Henry, Jelle, and I were out in the town with this other guy named Ben. Ben was from California and was backpacking through the EU. And as we were talking, we invited him to stay with us in Greece for the winter. And Ben's like, bro, I wish, but my 90 days are gonna be up. And we're like, 90 days, what does that mean? And then he proceeds to explain to us that basically most European countries are part of this zone called the Schengen area. And if you're from a country outside that area, you can only stay 90 days every 180 days. Oh shit.
I thought he was just confused because nobody has ever told me about that. And there was like no immigration at the airport or anything. So I felt like they did not take any of that seriously.
Unfortunately, they took it very seriously. And on top of that, Adam and Henry had less than 2 weeks before they risked consequences. You risk a huge fine. You risk being detained. You risk being banned from Europe for life. So before we had time to think, our goal shifted from getting to Greece to getting the hell out of the EU. And because we were in Venice, the fastest way out was Croatia because it wasn't part of that area. Problem was, to get into Croatia, we had to climb some mountains. Currently, we are biking out of Trieste. The air quality here is so bad. Even pedaling for a little bit, your lungs hurt so much. And on top of that, it wasn't summer anymore. And that meant rain. The rain's starting to pick up. We're going back down to the mountain valley right now. As we were climbing those mountains, we ended up splitting up again. Adam and Jelle were biking ahead of us, and Henry and I were biking behind. And while that'd be fine, we were unsure of what would happen at the border crossing. Our problem was, all of us had our COVID vaccine except Jelle. We just made it through to Croatia. We crossed 2 countries today. Thankfully, Henry and I made it through easily, but soon our fears were confirmed. Jelle was stopped, asked for his vaccination, and wasn't let through. There was no way I was gonna leave Jelle behind. So once we got to our hostel, I started planning. Searching all the places that give you a COVID test in Slovenia. In order for Jelle to get through, he had to have a negative COVID test. The problem was, there were 100 test sites in Slovenia, and I had to map each one to see which was closest to Jelle. What sucked was that because Jelle couldn't make it through that day, he had to wild camp in the rain that night. So the next day, the search continued. I found a place that I think gives a COVID test. It's really unclear because I had to like Google Translate the whole website. I'm gonna tell Jelle to go to this town and see what's up. As if I wasn't stressed enough, Adam insisted we needed to keep biking without Jelle, and that pissed me off. It would be unfair to leave him stranded.
That's impatient.
I could bike. I just don't want to bike in the rain.
I don't like biking by myself so much.
You make all of the decisions to bike by yourself.
Yeah, because I don't like waiting so long for you guys.
Eventually, Adam decided to stay because me and Henry weren't gonna bike. The whole rest of the day, we don't hear anything from Jelle. And so Adam was like, tomorrow I think I'm gonna keep biking. As the sun set, I was getting anxious Adam would leave us again. But all I could do was hope Jelle found his way. Hello? Jelle? Give me 1 sec, we'll let you in.
Here he is!
Jelle making it through kind of boosted morale. It definitely took our minds off of some of the tension from earlier that day.
We're chilling in Croatia now. Yeah, yesterday was a bit of like a small problem.
A small problem. That night, it was good to have our group united again. We had made it out of the Schengen area, but of course, there were more challenges to come. We still had to figure out a real solution to our 90-day dilemma, but we couldn't do so until we made it to our Airbnb in Zada, 3 days away. And there was a slight complication. It's so fucking windy! Great. We thought biking the coast would be easy, but now we were biking harder than ever. Typical with our daily routine, we stopped at a grocery store late in the day to figure out where to spend the night. Because our Airbnb was 3 days away, we had to make it there by the end of the week, which meant we had to bike at least a third of the way today, to this town called Sen. Problem was, the wind and mountains were tiring, and we were stopping for more and more breaks. And on this break, Adam noticed a castle on a hill and thought it'd be fun to bike there. However, we still had 25 miles left and the sun was setting. There was no way I was gonna go up a pointless hill and risk not making it to Sen. Jelle also didn't want to waste time, so our roles switched. He and I split from Adam and Henry in a race to make it to Sen by sundown. It's so fucking windy! While the wind was kicking our asses again, it felt good to be ahead of Adam and Henry. Despite the elements, Jelle and I were on a roll. Hot shower, hot shower, hot shower. That's my motivation. Get to Sen. Hot shower, hot shower, hot shower. We only had 5 miles left, even though the sun was setting and the wind was freezing. And meanwhile, Adam and Henry said they weren't gonna make it, which motivated me more. It was only fair me and Jelle should make it because we hadn't gotten sidetracked. We fucking made it! We did it, cinch! However, our spite was short-lived, as Adam and Henry rolled into town an hour later. Because of Adam's determination, he and Henry still had the energy to power through, and I realized again how much stronger our group was with him. I was letting myself clash with him again, and I needed to take a step back. But we were still speeding full force towards the fate of our 90-day decision. And based on the ideas Adam was entertaining, I knew that fate wouldn't be what I wanted. But that night, I just needed rest. There were still 2 days of biking left.
You can see the moon, and it's really pretty. It's crazy. Definitely the second best view I've had on this trip so far.
Ready? 3, 2, 1.
The next morning, we took it easy and stopped in a town to swim. Well, everyone except for me. The water was freezing. It had been a month and a half since I joined Adam and Henry, and already 2 weeks since meeting Jelle. And up until learning about the Schengen area, this trip had been going how I thought it would. Everything was fitting neatly into my story of Adam and Henry and their adventures in Europe. But abruptly, all of that was going to be left to fate. A fate I had been fearing from the beginning. What if this doesn't work out? After realizing it'd take 2 months of sitting in the Balkans for our 90 days to reset, Adam started thinking up dramatic reroutes for the trip.
Congrats, everybody. Done with your hills for a day.
Among these routes were flying to remote South America or Thailand, things I wasn't mentally prepared to do.
In my eyes, the point of this trip, even though it's a good experience to stay 2 months in one place, that was not what I wanted to do. I want to extend this time to just be traveling because this is the time that I have to do this. I want to make the most out of what I have.
Even if I agreed to go with Adam, Henry made it clear he wouldn't be able to join. He'd only saved enough money to fly to Europe and back, and had been planning to make more during the winter in Greece. So even if I stuck with Adam, one half of Adam and Henry wouldn't be there. I was frustrated at the whole situation, but most of all, I was angry with Adam. I had left some of my best friends at home to come out here. I had risked a lot. I had risked not going to college for setting myself back. And obviously, this was my choice. Obviously, it was my choice. I just wish that we could have stuck together. In a week, we planned on going our separate ways. Adam to Thailand, Henry to home, and Jelle and Ben, who had rejoined us in Zada, to Spain. And during the last week in Croatia, I stayed away from Adam. I was too upset with him to make amends, something I would come to regret. But like after that night before Venice, I just needed space. I had to focus on myself and figure out where I was gonna go, what I was gonna do. And as for this movie, the whole reason I was out here in the first place, it looked like this might be the end.